I'm not able to
No issues. Yeah.
disturb. So I hope everybody can hear me. Okay, just want to say hi to everyone. So
Sure.
I am currently helping people in Tamil Linux community, where we can people from all over Tamil Nadu ask questions in Tamil in that forum, and we basically a lot of people in our forum answers those technical questions. We help people to use switch over from Windows to Linux, and we rectify a lot of issues during their initial period of understanding the Linux and FOSS, and we guide them to basically awareness. We basically bring awareness of free and open source software to the students and to the other people. So this is what we are doing right now. So thank you.
Sure, Mohan. Sure. Thanks. Moving forward, we also have Praveen. Praveen is a Debian developer, and he has been a privacy advocate and chairperson of Prav Cooperative. More about Prav Cooperative in the last day panel. We will be discussing more on Prav and the tech behind it. And apart from that, I've seen him in multiple, such events in Kerala. So yeah, hi Praveen.
Yeah, hi Vignesh. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I have been contributing to Debian for quite some time. Someone asked me like how long, and I think I just looked at, and it's about like 20 years, like since my first contribution to Debian. Probably that was a mailing list post, but then I started translating the Debian installer to Malayalam. And then I also translated GNOME, KDE, and some other free softwares. Then I started contributing more into technical packaging. I maintain GitLab package for about like I think more than 10 years now. Basically, you can set up the GitLab server with just apt install GitLab, and everything will be set up with just a few, you answer a few questions and that's all. Few years I've been trying to promote more decentralized communication services. So Prav is one project wherein we don't want a single organization that manages or controls the entire world's communication. That is not very sustainable. So we want a decentralized messaging platform to replace those centralized platforms. But that is, I think, much harder than what we have been doing about free software on the laptop or desktops. Or it also means you have to bring your friends or the network to the platform. Otherwise, there is nobody to talk to. So it has a social or or marketing or publicity challenge in addition to creating a good application with features. So that is what I've been focusing on these days. We are hoping to register Prav as a cooperative, so the platform would be owned by the users, and also the leadership would be elected democratically from the members. Yeah, I think on the last day there will be a session specifically on the messaging platforms and democratizing them, so you can learn more about Prav. Thank you.
Definitely, Praveen. Thanks a lot. And last but not least, we also have Rahul Poruri. He's the CEO of FOSS United Foundation, and he has spent his time as software consulting and product development in solving scientific computing problems using open source software for around 8 years. And he has also been a Python speaker in multiple conferences, as well as he has been building and promoting open source communities. Rahul holds degree in physics from IIT Madras, as well as he has done graduate certificates in public policy from Takshashila. So over to you, Rahul.
Thanks, Vignesh, for that introduction. Um, yeah, I don't have as much of an experience as Praveen or like as the other panelists. But yeah, I've spent most of my life in the scientific Python ecosystem. So for the last 8 years, I was helping maintain open source packages that are primarily used for desktop app development in Python, which apparently nobody does anymore. So every once in a while, when I run into people who talk about Qt, like my eyes sort of light up. Uh, so yeah, that's what most of the last 8 years were working on maintaining packages in the scientific Python ecosystem to build and create desktop apps. And yeah, over the past 1 year, I've been primarily working on the FOSS United open source project. It's not been as much coding as I would have preferred, but it's been a lot more project management and trying to understand what technical direction we want to take the project in, and so on and so forth. Uh, around the open source ecosystem and who are sort of trying to look into the ecosystem and understand what is going on, what is the new thing over here. Like, is the ecosystem more accepting of me than before? How has the ecosystem changed and all of that? So yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you, Rahul. And first of all, thanks all three of you for coming here, and very welcome you here. And moving forward, I the whole reason for this event is, you know, UN announcing Open Source Week. That marks a very important milestone in free software journey, in open source journey, because UN considering the what uh, what is a journey of free software so far, what ecosystem, where it all started, and all of that. Not to skip the history, because this history is what is going to tell us the importance of what we have went through and why it is important, the pace going on. So I would like to give a brief introduction about free software, how it all started, and then we can move ahead. Though I don't want to take most of the time, I would like the panelists to discuss more. The brief is basically it all started with Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie, their open source movements, and how it has uh, they sowed the seed, and then how Richard Stallman has taken it forward, and along with Linus Torvald and the whole FSF and GNU project, and how it has led us till here is a complete history. And I don't think within this 1 hour of session would be enough to go through. And I would recommend everybody to go through the history and understand what we have gone through to reach here. Uh, on that note, I would like each of the panelists to, go ahead and tell your experience of what do you think about the whole free software journey, what we have come through so far, and why it is significant. The whole free software or open source is significant enough in this society. Starting with the same order, Mohan, please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I got distracted. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, Mohan. Yeah. we can hear.
Okay. So the question you asked, right? So how far we came, and what changes it brought to the Indian tech domain. So I hope this is the question you asked, right? Can you confirm me?
Yes, Mohan. Yes. What we have come through so far, and why it is important for this, for us to keep this moment going ahead.
Yeah. So this is my experience. So I just want to share my experience. So when I started during FOSS, so I was actually not aware of all this Linux and open source and the free software movement, but the knowledge which provided through the open source movement. So when I joined ILUGC, Indian Linux User Group Chennai, so people actually helped me a lot during my career. So it basically joining the free software movement is a career defining movement for me because it helped me to achieve what I want to achieve, my passion, right? So previously, if I say, let's say, if I am not at all aware of free software and all these things, right, I would have continued my career path in a different way. Like when I started in IT, I was actually a support engineer. So if you think like that, right? So when you join the support engineer, then after 3 years, your career is defined as a support engineer. So it's not going to be like I'm as a normal person, I cannot be thinking about okay, I can switch into a different role or a different way of doing my job, a different career path basically. So in the, without free software, I may not have the opportunity to work as a developer, which is my passion. So right, so the free software movement actually gave me a tool or a path to actually bring the road to me and give me a road to ahead to just go. And you don't have to be a career developer to contribute to an open source project. So you can be anybody, but you can basically go and contribute to an open source project. So which so which basically tells you that open source movement basically redefines a lot of people's career in IT field. So this is my point for this. So thank you for the opportunity.
Sure, Mohan. That is true. For most of us, free software has helped us with our career itself, which wouldn't maybe probably not the same case if it wasn't for the free software movements. Especially on my own experience, my throughout my career, it has been along with free software, my career has been shaped, and if not for free software movements, it won't even be the same for me. Yeah, thanks. Moving ahead, Praveen, your inputs on the same.
Yeah, I think I can also add to that idea, because I have an electrical engineering degree, but then I moved into computers thanks to free software. And in the days like in 2001 when I was doing engineering, at that time installation of free software operating systems itself was very difficult. You have to be careful about formatting your hard disk and not making mistakes, losing documents, losing your Windows installation and things like that. And I think in between things had improved, but then later I think these days it has become even also harder due to secure boot and other kind of things that is introduced by Microsoft. So that is one aspect wherein free software installation of free software it used to be very challenging. And these days some laptops do come with GNU Linux pre-installed, but that is I think very less in number, or it's not very easily available. It's still the system comes with Windows pre-installed. And in those days there were many free software user groups or communities that provided support for installation and other technical issues. I don't know, maybe because all the support is now available online through forums and things like that. Community been, at least the communities that were active before, they are not very active as it used to be. I would like to hear from Mohan how the ILUGC has been doing, whether it's still very active like before or how it is. And also, I would like to hear from Rahul's experience, because I think FOSS has been trying to have many different local communities, local meetups across India. So I would like to hear how that is going. And then the other thing is, most of our communication collaboration has moved to online platforms or the messaging applications, and still we consider, I mean, we still think your operating system, like moving away from Windows, is enough for the free software movement. But then a lot of people are actually using WhatsApp. I mean, it's the most popular proprietary software, most widely used proprietary software. So it's kind of I mean, I don't know, weird, or I mean, it's much harder problem as well. So uh, that is something probably we should think deeply and do something about. Yeah, I'd like to hear from Mohan and Rahul how the communities are doing that they're actively involved in.
Sure, Praveen. I think we can further discuss on the communities next going forward. From all three of you, I would like to hear more about each community. You have all three different communities have different, um, different set of challenges, different way of working, and different outcomes. So I would love to hear that from all three of you. But before that, to answer or to add to what Praveen has told, yes, Praveen, I have also gone through the same dilemma of, do I still keep using WhatsApp, or should I just get out of WhatsApp and go to a free software platform? Be an example, or lose in that way I lose out all the participants, or do I still be there in WhatsApp and try to reach out to people and convince them to free software? That dilemma I've been going through a lot of time, and then finally I have decided to get out of WhatsApp and few other proprietary platforms, and now I have moved to more free software platforms. Thanks Praveen for sharing that. And yeah, so going ahead, Rahul, I would like to hear from you as well of your experience and your journey with free software, and what do you think about free software's history and how do you see forward?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I like it again. Free software has had a substantial impact on my career, like probably everyone over here. I think the more interesting thing for me has also been it has actually shaped my political views as well, surprisingly. Especially over the last couple of years, as I've gotten more and more embedded in trying to understand sort of the socio dynamics or the political dynamics of how software and people interact. That has had a significant impact on like how I view uh, like social systems, political systems, human systems in general. I feel like there's a significant number of people even now who are uh, uh, who already have a certain ideology and then end up adopting, like it's not just a thing about free and open source software anymore, but rather it's a thing about the digital commons as a whole. That it's not just a thing about hey, look, I should have um, like these certain rights and these certain freedoms, but it's also about not just limited to like software freedoms, but also in terms of broader digital rights and digital freedoms and all of those things. And again, like the work that SFLC does a lot of advocacy work around. The other thing also is, I'll tell you a story from literally today. I was talking to a few faculty at a college over here. It's all faculty members who are part of the AI/ML department, and it's very interesting because all of them are at least familiar with what open source is. I tell them, they are asking me, oh hey, we want to participate in the open source ecosystem, and I tell them, oh yeah, like one of the steps is like let's check out GitHub, let's put some of these things on GitHub. They're like, oh, we're already doing it. Is that it? Is that all there is to participating in the open source ecosystem? Then yeah, then we're already doing it. But then when you tell them that you also need to have a license, they're like, oh, we didn't know we have to have a license. And then when you tell them that the choice of license matter, they're like, oh, we didn't know the choice of license matter. So I think it's interesting because at least over the last 8 years, from when I was in college exploring some of these things to now, uh, open source is definitely getting a lot more mainstream. If not, it has gotten mainstream. But the problem I think is a lot of people have just heard about it and have like very superficial understanding of it. And I think the challenge now definitely is how do we get people, how do we push people to like take the effort and get over the limited superficial understanding and actually start gaining a deeper understanding and appreciation of free and open source software. Uh, Recently, I hope all of you have seen this. There are these huge billboards, I think in Bombay or somewhere, with some organization saying that their student cracked GSOC and was participating in GSOC this year or something of that sort, right? JEE coaching was the thing in when like was the JEE coaching was in its peak a decade back when I was doing coaching, and right now it looks like GSOC coaching is what is becoming the. So this is what I mean by it's becoming mainstream, right? And I think there'll always be people who will like look to how can I exploit this situation for commercial purposes? How do I game the system now that like the system is able to produce a certain amount of value for the community as a whole. Uh, and yeah, I think we also want to try and ensure that we are speaking up and speaking out about some of the harms of this kind of a gamification and how again we as open source communities across the country are able to set the right expectations for uh, uh, yeah the newer generation. I think we as Fossilnet are lucky in the sense that we're one of the younger communities in the country, and yeah, I'm happy to go into some of those details in the next questions, like what sort of fun challenges we are facing as a community, mostly of young developers and students.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Rahul. I mean, that's true. I mean, I too consider free. I consider free software very much political thing. Free software itself is a politic, and we have, the free software movements have fought to take its own rights, to get its own rights, and even having a license itself is a very big political gain to free software movements. And my political ideology could have also, I could say, free software has some kind of influence in everybody's part, some or the other way around. So yeah, that's true. And to come back to the last part which you explained about how people take gain of it, I think that's where my next question is around. So though I consider myself as a free knowledge enthusiast more than free software, I feel free knowledge has to be uh, a very essential thing for not just science but humankind's development in the whole, in the first place. So I think uh, very important, and free knowledge uh, then is like I have an idea and I share it with you, and you do the same. We don't lose anything. We all gain to, so no, one more idea. That's what free software is to me as well. So free software is about sharing the idea, and top or when there was hurdle in sharing that idea, that's when people realized, okay, there's something fundamental wrong here. uh, till now we were able to, the science was about sharing ideas, and now there is a hurdle for it. So that gave us the birth of free software movement throughout, and we are keeping it up. And but it is also sad to see that it's it's turning around now. So let's say free softwares again, once which were controlled or owned by the communities or the contributors, now majorly it's been owned by a corporate, or owned by a corporate, or one single person, or one single team which decides what goes into the software and what doesn't. and in most cases, people do contribute to free softwares and open source softwares, and it ended in that ends up. I mean, not open source. I mean, not free software. Particularly maybe some open source. Definitely, this happens when they turn the software into something that the community doesn't like it to be. A very good example is let's take Audacity for example. Audacity has been such a good audio editing software for so many years. It has the the team just decides, okay, we are now going to collect users' telemetry data, which the community wasn't happy about, but the community couldn't do much about as well. So my question is it relevant still to contribute to free software or open source software in this era? And if yes or no, what do you think can be further done? Starting with Mohan. I mean, it's open for anyone. Mohan, Praveen, Rahul, anyone can pick it up. Anyone who thinks it's right.
Okay, I will go first on this. So the question you said, right? Is it still relevant to do contribution to projects when the projects are trying to make something out of it after long period? Let's say there are a lot. Maybe there is this Terraform recently happened, as well as this IRC world. You can go through the IRC history. There is this free node server, IRC server, which becomes a lot of things. So keep it aside as a point, right? So when the software try to make something out of when the free software makes something out of it, then the users or some of the developers try to the users don't like it basically. So the one important thing in free software is the code is open. So when the current developers or the current maintainers of the project try to make financial benefits out of the free software, then there are already people willing to step up and try to fork it and make the fork become the main product rather than the previous product. So this happened for a lot of projects, and so one of the benefit of this free software is, as I said, right, this is one of the benefits. So from to your question, is it still valid to contribute to free software? Then my answer is yes, it is still relevant. If you are the group of people think that the project you contribute,
I mean, it takes a lot of effort to actually fork and maintain the fork. But I mean, everything, like you can't be taken for granted that some people think that you like. The whole promise or the idea of free software is that if you don't like something in a software, you could change it, even if it means a lot of effort and time. That is the actual promise. I mean, it's not that the software will always be good by default, or the same people will always make the good software. The actual promise or the relevance of free software is that users could come together and then correct things that they don't like, or add things that they want without depending on the original developer. So that is always there. I mean, if you start contributing to a new project, maybe look at how the project is organized. Is it a community governance structure and things like that? Before you start contributing to a project, that is one thing. And if you're already contributing and if something bad happens, yes, I mean, you have to come together with other people in the community and then create a fork. Very recently, core maps was created from organic maps because the founders were not responding to the community interest and demands. So they tried to add some, I think advertisements and other kind of shitty things into organic maps. So now we have core maps. And LibreOffice is a very famous example. For a long time, it was forked from OpenOffice and it has been maintained as a fork. It's a bit unfortunate when we have to fork. It takes a lot of effort, but then we have that option, and that we can use that when required.
Yeah, sure, Praveen. I mean, we have been forking most of such softwares when they go when they turn away, they have been forked and the community has stepped in and it has been taken forward. They have kept alive the spirit of open source. So I do agree on that. Yeah. Thanks. And Rahul, on your opinion on the same, please.
Yeah, no, it's still valuable to contribute to free and open source software. Um, I mean, just the same way that it's valuable to contribute to a digital commons, just the same way it's valuable to contribute to open knowledge. I don't think there's ever going to we're ever going to get to a place where people shouldn't do it, no matter what the social dynamics are, because people could just do it out of their own even if nobody else is getting any value from it, I am getting a personal satisfaction from putting these things out in the comments, which is why I want to do it, right? And while I agree with Praveen and Mohan, I do want to do a very reactive fork. And there have been great examples of even after doing a reactive fork, the project has been very well sustained, and it's actually become it's not a fork anymore; it's its own thing. Like LibreOffice, I didn't know that LibreOffice was an only Office fork until an year or so back, and uh, I think most recently I got to know about it because they were saying, look, OnlyOffice hasn't gotten any meaningful updates whatsoever in a certain amount of time, so why don't you adopt LibreOffice? I think this was just part of their official promotion. Uh, and I feel like those sort of cases are exceptions and not the norms, where the fork actually becomes the dominant thing and the de facto thing in the community. Uh, the reason why I'm saying this is because I feel like we as a community also need to start thinking about, instead of doing reactive decisions and instead of taking reactive decisions, I feel like if we come across a project which is meaningful, which we find meaningful and we find value from, like what Praveen was saying, let's look at whether the project has community governance and what sort of code of conduct these projects have. But they don't have, let's say, a technical group which is responsible for taking decisions. If the company hasn't let go of the a hold that they have on the technical direction of the project by setting up a technical advisory committee, if they haven't inducted core contributors to the project from outside of the organization and from the community by ensuring that they're able to develop some of these things, I feel like uh, those are what we want to be focusing on, at least in my mind, proactively ensuring that the community has the capacity to say, hey, I'm going to evaluate, I'm going to push the projects to be better disconnected from the organization to a certain extent, and we will both train ourselves to figure out how we can set those processes in place, and we'll try and disseminate those to other people as well to ensure that when and if anyone who's technically capable comes across an open source project which is tied to a company, they can nudge that company in that direction. uh, there's always going to be a few weird cases where the company might not want to let go, but that's also a very clear indicator that, yeah, you know what, these people aren't willing to let go now. That's only indicative of where these things are going to go later. At the very least, if they're willing to let go now, if they want to come back later and say, no, we want to take this back, it's sort of too late at that point, and hopefully the necessary governance structures have been set in place to ensure that it can't go back. I think the recent uh, NATS example with the whole thing that happened to the Linux Foundation feels like some sort of a case study here, because I don't understand the situation fully because I'm not from that ecosystem. So please correct me if I'm wrong. But one of the criticisms there very clearly was that NATS was supposed to ensure that a certain amount of community contributions come in, a certain number of core contributors come from the community, and so on and so forth. But then I think they ended up graduating to being an official project without meeting those requirements, and that ended up then later on coming back and biting the community, because I think in one of their justifications they said, oh, we are still most of the contributors, 97% of the commits are still coming from us, etc., etc. So I feel like we need to be thinking and moving towards much more proactive actions to prevent these sorts of things from happening.
Definitely, Rahul. I mean, I do agree on that, and I also take the point as community owns has the power and owns the software, owns the source. So I take it as community is ultimate power of, and that has to take charge of it. And moving forward, I have multiple other, lot other things to discuss with all of you, especially you. All three of you come from different free software backgrounds, free software community backgrounds, and it would be very, helpful to give insights. But as we are short in time, I'd like to dive into exactly what are the challenges that each of your community face? How do you, for example, let's just take Mohan, for example. He has been coordinating ILUGC for some time. ILUGC being one of the oldest ILUG in India, lot would have changed so far. And starting Linux, Tamil Linux community, that would have also uh, would have been a really huge task, considering, let's say, I have been in Tamil Nadu, Bangalore, Delhi, and multiple other cities. I know the kind of outreach of free software in these places, and I know how difficult it is to do it in Tamil Nadu with the community, how it has been so far, what has been changed, and what do you think? Uh, how do we take forward the movement? Yeah, starting with Mohan, please.
Yes. So I'll just tell me my experience with ILUGC. So when I joined ILUGC, there are very few groups in Chennai. Like so only hardly I can say ILUGC and other group. So basically, what happens is most of the technology which we learned is learned through the window of the free software movement. So the free software movement is the center place, or we can say as a base, and then all the technologies which I learned, basically it basically actually adds up to the free software movement. So whether the language, whether the technology which I learned, everything basically I saw it through the free software window or free software worldview. But nowadays there are a lot of communities specific for each and every technology. Let's say uh, so for JavaScript, there is a different community. There is each and every product or each and every technology or free software technologies have their own community. So I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but this is a good thing, because a lot of people will come and participate in those technology groups. But one of the my concern, as far as I see, one of my concern is the free software becomes the second level or something. Like, it's not like people focus on free software and then teach the technology. They teach the technology side by side. They teach the free software movement. This is not like that in previous times. Like when I started, this is not the case, because free software is the center point. All the technology comes around free software to teach us. But now different specific technology groups are mainly focused on the technology, but forget about free software and free software movement. So if so anyone here in this meeting is doing such kind of technology specific software movement, so teach the free software ideology, free software methods. And there are a lot of Unix philosophy. There is 8 rules of Unix philosophy, how to write a proper code. So those are all very valuable things for a developer, saying that KISS, the principle of KISS is very important for a developer. So these things, the principle of KISS is very important for a developer. So these things has to be taught to people.
experiments. The session that I did at the college today was basically teaching AI/ML related courses, and I'm trying to talk about like what difference in the mindset that exists right now in terms of people are coming for the incentives and not for the idea. Not much that we can do in the short term. Meanwhile, we messaging to the students and the faculty. I'm trying to push both. Like I'm not able to tell them, hey, look, first understand the ideology and then we talk about the value. I'm trying to do both together as much as possible. I'm trying to say, hey, look, here is the thing that you want. I'll give you a little bit of the value that you want to see. But at the same time, like once you take one step, I'll also make you understand the ideology a little bit. That's again like working a little bit better, because we've also had like multiple conversations with some of the students who are part of the student clubs that we are running. uh, there's a long other students, and I'm interviewing other club members, and I'm so there's this sort of corporatization, like especially in the student community, because again like they're trying to game the system and they're trying to understand what sort of incentives they can get out of it. And I feel like that cultural change is something that we should still push back against, but that's a much longer game that we need to play. And in the short term, I definitely feel like we have to ensure that we are able to do both to some extent. This, for example, is also one of the questions that someone said. Suraj comes just to get a job later instead of helping the community. I feel like uh, I have to give them that incentive of, hey, look, this can help with your professional career. But at the same time, as and when I'm helping them understand what sort of professional incentives that they have, I should also then, in parallel, try and get them to understand the ideology also. Uh, yeah, that's again the sort of middle ground or the pragmatic way that we are trying out right now. Just sort of going all the way back, one of the fundamental problems that we are just facing is it's a young community, mostly of like students, if not people who have just graduated, and uh, there's this fundamental risk of either everyone is doing very basic stuff and nobody is taking the initiative to dig deeper, actually contribute, actually put things upstream, whatever like ways of contribution they are. And on the complete other side, because the community is now 5 years old, there are people who graduated, who started working, and now 2-3 years into their journey in the open source ecosystem, they're beginning to sort of like mature out of the fascinated community in some sense, because we are not able to give them technically advanced content throughout the year, throughout the country. So one of the fundamental challenges is how do we ensure beginner-friendly sessions so that we're able to continuously attract new people into the community, but at the same time, either we ourselves are able to do like intermediate or advanced sessions, or we're able to work with other communities where we're able to do sessions together, which again are going to ensure that people who are experienced continue to want to come back to the community, so because they feel like they're still learning from the community, and they also have something to give back to the community. uh, because yeah, once you're experienced, you can't like there's only so many times you can keep doing an introduction to Python workshop or a talk. At some point you have to feel like, no, I want to be able to dig deeper and talk to people about deeper things and talk to people about more higher level concepts. Yeah, sorry, I went a little longer. Thank you, Praveen.
No issues. Yeah, we are short on time, so quickly to Praveen as well. Yeah, Praveen, please go ahead. Share your opinion about communities in Kerala, and in general, the communities which you have worked with, and what are your experience with them?
Yeah, I think in Kerala we have, one big advantage that all the schools already teach free software, so all the like government schools they already are familiar with GNU Linux. But I don't really know how in depth they understand the philosophy, and you know they can like later become part of the community and contribute and things like that. But I mean, it's still probably better than most of the states in India in how free software is adopted. And I think hurdle or think ground programs, campus communities, all of those kind of died. There was a break, and now we have to kind of start from scratch scratch again. So that becomes much harder than if it was a continuous activities. That is about the community stuff, and for the platforms or the day in